Yes.
Hey
You know,
guys.
the question comes up as you're training. Everybody knows you're training. Everybody has to train. Done by law. Why wouldn't you do it with the best?
And we are talking about our fully customizable training program designed to unlock your team's fullest potential.
Yep. It's about delivering experience and not just plain old, bottled up training that's off the shelf and you probably don't want it. And we will take it. We will ensure that it's for you and best technologies and training techniques and all that stuff.
Yeah, are the people that we bring in to teach with us, they are not just knowledgeable, they are engaging, and they are masters at keeping everybody fully into what is being taught, how it's being taught, laughing, crying, joking.
Yeah,
It's phenomenal. A lot of crying.
Yeah,
a lot
so
of crying.
if you're looking to transform your team, then contact us at thehazmatguys.com/hire us and reserve your spot and start your team's transformation training experience today. Oh,
Hello, this beautiful, blistery, warm January morning.
it is cold outside.
It is cold.
It is. I think it's like 16 degrees Fahrenheit.
It is.
You and
It is cold, which I mean, I'm shocked that we don't have snowblowers going on in the background because during the year we have lawnmowers go on and leaf blowers, so it's the only time that we don't get lawn equipment picked up in the
that's
background.
why we record at 2 in the morning now.
It's so hard to get up.
Oh, terrible.
So,
Anyway,
what things have we got going on, Bob?
all right, the short and skinny is we have the Battery Destroyer Club West Coast coming up soon. I want to say it's the 20th, February 20th. We'll be going out there to check out what they're doing. And I just got their plan. And wow, is it more legit than the one we did on the first one?
Really? Well, this is the Battery Destroyers that we did up in Massachusetts. That was us coming together. That was a couple of small companies, a couple of just people that were looking to figure some stuff out. This has got a few alphabet agencies running around it, doesn't it? Yeah.
They have like a complete plan and who's allowed to be in certain zones. And it's like, you need access passes and they're doing some major stuff. So I'm excited to see it. We're going to catalog it all. And then we're going to have an after action kind of report kind of thing where we're going to get together and discuss all the stuff on a show. That will be online as well, live and all that stuff. So when that's all done, we'll let you know. We have the after action report, where we talk to senior dudes that were in the beginning of hazmat and just find out how it was back in the day. That's going to be February 7th. The next one's recording at 19:30 hours Eastern Standard Time with none other than Rick Emery. Long format, comments are on, free. Interactions, throw your questions in, ask the questions. It should be a lot of fun. It always is.
And we know Rick, so when we say long, we mean long.
Yeah, this could be a couple hours. Yeah. So if you know Rick, you know what I'm talking about. And then the conferences we got going on is WAMR, New England, OMRA, which is the Ontario, Michigan Cold Zone. I don't want to forget New York State, Oklahoma, Oregon, Baltimore, and Virginia. So far. The list keeps changing.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's amazing. There's little conferences popping up. Little conferences are becoming bigger conferences. Everything is growing in leaps and bounds.
Love it. So we have part 2 of our psychological hurdles of hazmat technicians here, and hopefully we get through another 2. And the first one is far.
Yeah, this is the one that you're excited about.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I almost want to say there was an episode made about this, or we made reference of this, or maybe it was a nugget or something. But I think we talked about this in some way. It might have been a nugget.
This feels like it's almost oppositely related to the what's the one where you think that you're not good enough to be in the position that you're in?
Oh, the imposter
syndrome. This feels like the kind of the opposite. So what do we have here?
Okay, the Dunning-Kruger effect. And you know what? I'm going to put it up for those of you that can see, or you can't see. You should be seeing, because if you can see, you're a specialist, or at least a hazmat technician. This is the chart, and you can see the confidence level. You have no idea when you come into school, and then you come out of school and you know everything. And then you start seeing as you evolve, you're like, oh my God. And it gets down to the bottom. And then you notice how like the end, the trust me, it's complicated. The end of the knowledge field is lower than the initial.
Right.
And I think that's kind of an important thing because like, you know what? I'll give you the definition. It might be easier.
Okay.
Is the cognitive bias where individuals with limited ability or knowledge in a domain overestimate their competence.
Yeah,
this is absolutely a thing.
We talk about this. This is definitely a thing, and this is a thing that if you're new to being a tech, you don't really have to worry about for like another 8 months.
Yep.
Because right now you're like, I don't understand any of this. You are at a point where you know that you don't know what you don't know, and eventually you learn so much information that you're like, wow, this has got to be it. Like, I now know I got it, right? Like, there is nothing that I don't know. So you switch from knowing that you don't know what you don't know to not knowing that you don't know what you don't know. And then that humbling reality sets in at some point, and it never does it in like a dream or when you're all alone. It does it in a spectacular fashion in which the world bitch slaps your ego right back down to the ground, and you go, holy crap, there's a whole nother like world out here that I didn't even know existed, from what I thought was a full tank of gas, right? Like, I thought I understood it all, and then just you take one subject and you open this like little rabbit hole, and you're like, what is down here? And then all of a sudden you realize that every bit of knowledge that you have in this field has a rabbit hole that goes down it.
You know what? I've seen this the most often, and no offense, all you out there wearing bars and leaves and whatever, but bosses.
Yeah.
Bosses that come into hazmat, and they come in as a boss knowing nothing, and then they come out of class and they sit in the training or whatever, and they got the opinion of like, yeah, I got this, and they have no idea the depth of studying and understanding that's sitting around them, and they almost give it like a cursory like blow off, like I went to class.
Right. Oh, I just went to tech school. We just I try to tell people all the time, like in the class, you know, as a firefighter trying to address chiefs and officers, I try to get them to understand hazmat in what we're talking about from this point of view. I said, you're going to go out, right, as soon as like that Friday hits where you take your test and you get your certification and you're like, woohoo, I'm a hazmat tech, and the job turns around and they put you in charge of a company, or you're now the incident commander. You are basically a probie that has just come out of fire school and is now in charge of a fire operation. Like, you would think that was absolutely 100% batshit crazy that a probie is being taken out. Like, you barely learn how to survive in probie school long enough to learn your job, and you're going to be in charge of a scene, but hazmat's no different. And the officers that can't wrap their brains around that, they end up being the ones with that limited knowledge and understanding. And if they are not aware of it, they can significantly impact the scene, because you're now creating this little bit of chaos, right? I mean, where else? This gets seen. We see this everywhere. We see this in investors trying to do the stock market for the first time.
That's a big one. Like, guys that like, oh, I read a book on how to, like, you know, do what is it, day trading,
pattern trading. I have a book on pattern trading that was in my locker at the firehouse for the longest time. I read it. I did pretty decent at the pretend pattern trading. I never actually turned it on live and went live with it.
It's funny because like you just said, it's cold. right now, and my daughter is just started driving maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and she's like, "Yeah, it's no big deal." I'm like, "You have no idea how driving in the snow or the, is," and so
Oh my God.
overestimating your capabilities is kind of the thing.
My 16-year-old, my 16-year-old, my 17-year-old goes, yeah, I can drive in the snow. I go, oh, you've driven in the snow before, and there was silence, and she goes, well, I've driven in the rain, and I was like,
just
oh
another
yeah, I
form.
mean that's like
Same
right there, same thing. Have fun, good luck.
All right, let's go through some strategies to overcome this. What would it be? Be a fallacy? Would it be?
I think it's a
I guess a
fallacy
bias.
if you act with the confidence of thinking that you know what you're doing.
Okay.
I guess,
Yeah,
right? Wouldn't
that's
that be
cool.
the fallacy?
Yeah.
You know?
I think I should have probably looked at the definitions of each one a little bit more closely. But what do we know? We're just on the radio. That's all it is.
Well, we know this stuff. We don't have to look at anything.
We don't have to look it up. I read an article. I'm an expert on this now.
Yeah, I understand all of this.
All right. So one of the things is continuous education and training, such as regular skill and knowledge updates in professional fields, meaning when you're training with guys that have more time, experience, listen very closely and suck it up. Like absorb that. Don't sit there with your arms crossed.
Yeah,
is probably one of the things.
Just because you got 20 years on, if you're new to hazmat, act like the probie again. With the exception of keeping your mouth shut.
Healthy.
Like, it is healthy. With the exception of keeping your mouth shut, because we want to encourage that conversation and ideas and communication back and forth to disrupt the other fallacies that we talked about last time. Encourage constructive feedback in the workplace. We said before that a lot of these strategies, they tie in together, and if you can have that constructive feedback, then you're going to get feedback in real time that's like, hey boss, I don't think that's the best way to go about it. I don't think we should be going in that direction.
And we've talked about that many times. Is like, not standing up to the boss, but like, listen, as a new boss, I would love for a guy to be like, listen, quietly on this side, be like, we shouldn't do this. Because that's like, oh, okay, thanks. Because I don't even know what I didn't know. And this guy saw it, and he kept me safe and not going to jail.
Yeah. Maybe we should go in this direction. Have you thought about this? That's probably the best line to give to a boss, especially one that's a little like, not really good, but doesn't know they're not really good, is, hey, boss, have you thought about this?
Yes. And one of the things that we have mentioned on many shows is some type of mentorship program. Pairing. We instituted this. Like, this was a big thing. This was a major turning stone in the company where we started implementing mentors, where we have a senior guy, a guy that's been around in the company, assigned for a while, and a new guy where, we give them guardrails. We are their focus point. Instead of them going to the officer with a problem, they come to the mentor with the problem. And it guides the learning experience in a much more regulated way.
Yeah.
And I will say, just because you're senior does not mean you're a mentor.
No.
Remember that.
Yes. No,
because not everybody's a mentor.
It's like the guys that are instructors, right? Not just because you have a lot of knowledge doesn't mean that you can get up in front of a classroom and give it. I still get phone calls from my mentors. Usually it's telling me how wrong I was in the stuff that, I was telling them. But still, they reach out all the time.
Yeah. All right. Well,
you have to have the ability to be self-reflective and have that assessment, that mindset, that reflective mindset, because you could have open communication, but if you're not actually absorbing what it is that your team members, your people, your bosses, your under bosses, your chiefs, if you're not listening to what they're saying, you're going to just assume that you know exactly what's going on. So, it's not just enough to be able to talk. You have to be able to be okay inside your brain with taking in that information and being like, oh yeah, man, I get it. Okay, I don't understand fully what's going on.
Right. And even we talked about this last week, is like the tabletops. Not everything is sitting around a table, going over a concept. Not everything is going to be in the street where there's a real situation where somebody gives you that nudge. Sometimes you can set up things like tabletops or hands-on practice in controlled settings, especially in those weirdo things, those one-offs, those things that are statistically not probable to happen. That's where you need those guardrails set up, have some, mentors standing around you and guiding you into that right direction. So,
yeah, a questioning attitude. Don't ever hesitate to just ask why. And ask why over and over again, because that's how you're going to get a deeper, like that base knowledge.
Hold on, over and over again. That would be annoying if you said it to the same person, but I would say it to different people.
Well, no.
Like, why? Why?
Yes.
I'm not 3 years old.
Yes, yeah, but we have to be 3 years old, right? Because all right, so think of, all right, what you just said is actually like a perfect point, right? Because why does the 3-year-old ask why? Because they're understanding the surface question, right? They're trying to do, they're logically processing what you said, and they want to understand the next layer. Well, why does that layer exist? And then you give them an answer for that, and then they ask why. That's how you start to develop depth of information, is by continuing to ask why, right? Like, okay, oh, Jesus, I can't even think of something off the top of my head. Flammability. Gasoline is more flammable than diesel. Why? Well, because of vapor pressure. Well, why? Well, because of the size of the molecule.
That's true. You do get a different answer. Because I assume that the guy is just not understanding my answer, so I repackage and resend.
Right. No, I'm not saying you ask why, and
That's
you attach it to the previous answer. And
right,
that
build depth.
You start to build depth, and that depth eventually allows you to not only actually fully understand the situation from a chemical physical properties point of view, but it also then allows you to think outside the box, because eventually you're going to get to the point where you can no longer generalize, and you're going to go from generalized learning to specific learning. Like, you understand the nuances of the chemicals and the physical properties and why things are doing what they're doing. And then when things go wrong, you're able to access that information to come up with a realistic thing. So a questioning attitude is absolutely phenomenal. We say it all the time on the show. You want to think like a child. I
like it. Let's just go on to the next one. I think those are good points to push back on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one's another one that I think is extremely common, and it's called the normalcy bias.
Okay.
And that is a bias leading to the underestimation of the disaster potential and inadequate preparation due to unfamiliarity with such events. All right, and we got some good examples here.
Yeah, and the unfamiliarity with such events, that it can go kind of in two different directions, right? You have an event where you are, hey, I don't know anything about this, so I'm not going to prepare for it. Or you have an event where you're like, well, I've experienced a few of these, and, I've done X, Y, and Z, and it's turned out fine. And then, holy crap, I wasn't prepared for this level of event. And a perfect example of this is Hurricane Katrina, which happened back in 2005. Totally flooded New Orleans. The people that lived there, they didn't evacuate in the face of a hurricane that was literally building up steam in the Gulf of Mexico, going from a 3 to a 4 all the way to a 5. They couldn't even imagine a situation in which their place would be flooded. They were told over and over again this could happen. Over and over again, it didn't happen. So eventually they just kind of got to the point that it was like, okay, well, nothing is going to happen, right? We've had, multiple hurricanes hit this area. The levees didn't break. The waters didn't flood in. Everything was fine and good. And then all of a sudden, they're getting the warning, hey guys. And everyone's like, yeah, we've done this 1,000 times before. They weren't familiar with that level of an event happening in their area.
Even 2011, the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami in Japan, despite being a country accustomed to earthquakes, the scale and impact of that earthquake and subsequent tsunami were so unprecedented that many were unprepared for that.
Was that the earthquake and tsunami that led to Fukushima?
I think it was.
I think it was too. Man,
2011 sounds about the right time.
It feels like it wasn't that long ago, and I'm doing the math on it real quick, and I'm like, holy crap, that's like almost 15 years ago. Jesus Christ, right? Because again, they were unprepared for the event, even though they were actually extremely well prepared. There was one tiny flaw in that Fukushima power plant that allowed it to go under. The Chernobyl nuclear disaster, right? The operators at Chernobyl, they underestimated the potential for the disaster. I mean, when you take a nuclear reactor and you put it together with basically rusty garbage cans, this is what comes into play. The Soviets were not necessarily known for their safety programs, and they didn't exactly. They didn't have people that understood the different levels as to why. So when something did go wrong, there wasn't the experience to quickly be able to deduce it. They didn't anticipate the problems. They weren't able to figure out what was happening because of a lack of experience and understanding, and it ended up causing one of the largest to date nuclear disasters in humankind.
Yeah. And sorry, all you Russian people out there to listen to us, because there's quite a few.
That's good.
Yeah, we have quite a listener base. I don't know how they're listening to us, but they are doing it. So, anyway, strategies to counteract the normalcy bias: awareness, education. Right. It says public campaigns about rare and high impact events. And those three that we just mentioned are like poster children for that kind of thing. Like, understanding and bringing those types of events to the surface and discussing them is the first step. I think is a very big important step.
It is, but I think this has to be focused on an individual and not on a public, because the public is too stupid to right, like here in New York and Long Island, if there's going to be 2 inches of snow, you can't get milk and bread for a week before the event. Right. Yet if there's going to be a 3-foot blizzard, everybody's on the road and people get trapped. So like nobody's the public doesn't listen anyway.
Yeah, I always say that people are dumb. A person's smart, but people are dumb. So again, do those emergency drills, like drills for diverse scenarios in schools, workplaces, communities. Expose yourself to I don't want to hear from you. That'll never happen. And that was a perfect thing. They'll never do that. That'll never happen. That word never and always is so corrosive in our minds because it sets up like, I can dismiss that. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So my son just recently got a little mini dirt bike thing, right? And I'm showing him how to fill it up, and there's like 9 gas cans in my shed, and they're all full. And my Noah's like, why do you have 9 gas cans? Like, we don't even have, like, this is like 50 gallons worth of gas. And I'm like, well, bud, because if something happens and we lose power, right? Like, we lose power here, the gas station loses power. Like, this is a backup. This is preparedness. And he goes, we don't ever, like, that's never going to happen. Like, you're crazy. He's turning around thinking like I'm like the world is going to end. And he's like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm like, no, but it could be something as simple as like a hurricane, a large tractor trailer hits a telephone pole and they can't, like there's different levels of preparedness, but to be ready from an individual point of view, to be able to run that emergency, that comes into our drilling, that comes into our preparedness, that comes into everything. He doesn't understand that the power could go out and we could lose the ability to get gasoline, but I've lived through it. So I am prepared, and I will try to teach that on to the next generation.
I like that. Even doing like something a more macro, like multi-agency alerts, like disaster alerts kind of thing, like setting up for, well, how are you? And I know I mentioned this before, but we did a drill with the New York City Police Department. And, for 20 years, we were doing it this way. We get dressed in this way. We get dressed. And when they plugged in, it was completely disarming to me because there was a guy with a gun next to me. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I protect you so you can go and do that. And I never even thought of that concept that there was different people doing different jobs. Like, it blew my mind. I was off my game for at least 5 minutes. I was like, I can't wrap my head around this.
Yeah, yeah. See, I would have been like, no, I've seen how cops shoot. I'll take the gun. Thank you very much.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, like, you know, I'm just looking through the next couple points and they're all kind of like the same.
Right. Well, the risk management training, right? That is something that can allow you to make quick decisions where you kind of now you start to understand risk versus reward in things that may not happen that often, right? Like, Bobby, you went on a whole bunch of hurricane deployments with FEMA. So you have a totally different concept of post emergency for an area. Like, if I wanted to try to figure out how to prepare myself for a hurricane, I would probably call up Bob and be like, okay, listen, like, what kind of crap did you see happen to people when you were deployed on the FEMA stuff? And, you know, you could be like, oh, well, you know, like, they just didn't have enough water, or they were trapped, or they did something stupid like go up into their attic and become trapped in their attic. So, you know, that the risk management training can come in many different aspects, and getting the rundown from people who have experience with it, I think that's a tremendous way to help deviate from this biasy.
I think the final one is kind of the main crux of it, is the mental flexibility training. And like you said, like, people go into their attics. That was one thing that I remember, is that there was always a hatchet in the attic down south. And it's because when the floodwaters come in and they get pushed to the attics, they have a hatchet to chop their way out.
Eat the children. Oh.
Right, to eat the children, of course. You gotta eat.
Well, I mean, escaping that's
being mentally flexible to think about these things and not dismissive of the probability so minimal that I don't have to consider this. And I know we've mentioned this in the last couple of episodes, is like that whole thing of like, do you veer left or right if you're going to hit that deer? The option wasn't even presented that you can hit the deer. Right. So that flexibility, you have to have a pliable and not a rigid, because we're not in a fire scenario where there's a very linear progression to the fire. We understand where it's at and where it's going to go. In hazmat, it's 4D chess. And if you don't have a very flexible, pliable, open mind, I don't think you're going to do well.
Yeah, it's that idea that, that could never happen to us. Right? Like, oh, that'll never happen. That'll never happen. That'll never happen. That valve will never just randomly shear off when I'm not doing anything with it, or that tank won't just collapse, or it'll never find a source of ignition.
That's it.